Now we're going to turn our attention to a completely different kind of genetic technology. In the last section, we talked about how humans have changed the genetics of organisms by taking a gene out of one species and putting it into another, increasing variation. This time, we're going to talk about cloning. That is making identical copies of mammals. Now, we've cloned plants for thousands of years because plants clone themselves by asexual reproduction, vegetative propagation. But animals are generally not cloned, certainly not vertebrates. In the 1990s, humans were able to finally clone a mammal, a sheep. Her name was Dolly. What they did was they took DNA from an adult sheep that they liked. Let's say the sheep had great fur, or whatever you call the wool, right? Had great fur, and they wanted another sheep with equally great fur. So they took some DNA from that wonderful adult, we'll call that adult the donor, and put that into a zygote. Now, zygotes are fertilized eggs. They grow into whole new babies. So they took the DNA from the adult with the nice hair and put it in a cell that would divide into an adult or into a whole baby. And that baby would have exactly the same DNA as the adult from whom they took the DNA, because zygotes divide by mitosis. So once you have one cell with all the genes of this wonderful sheep, the zygote will just divide by mitosis as long as you implant it and have a surrogate carrier to carry the baby in the uterus. That baby will grow up to be identical to the donor with the nice fur. So let's take a look at how that works. If you have a sheep that you think is wonderful, this sheep is, like, let's say, just excellent for some reason, we can take the nucleus out of its cell, right? We can take its nucleus, and it now has all the instructions for how to make this sheep. And we can take an egg cell from somebody else and fuse them together. So now this cell right here has the DNA of this sheep, the donor, and the egg cell from this one. All the genetic information of how to make a sheep has come from this sheep. So all that really cool fur or whatever it is that we like about that sheep is now encoded in this particular egg cell. It's going to divide by mitosis into an embryo. And of course, because it's mitosis, every one of these cells is identical to the original zygote. And then it's going to be implanted into another sheep in her uterus. And this baby will grow and be born into a little baby sheep. That lamb is going to be genetically identical to this lamb because it is an exact copy of this DNA over and over and over and over, grown into a whole sheep. And it's identical to that original donor. And that's how we managed to clone animals.